Hey guys, it's Tom Kelly. It is Tuesday, December 13th, 10:21 p.m. I asked my Instagram followers what to talk about tonight. It's either going to be talking about the release of WNBA superstar Brittney Griner from captivity in Russia, or it's going to be about the number one topic on AskReddit.com. What are the worst parts of having a penis? Plus, everything I'm trying to do to tape the show today is falling apart. So I'm going to figure out what the results of the poll are. And what do you say we start the show? Trigger warning, spoiler alert, I have to adjust my trousers. You are experiencing I guess they've all been last-minute editions of the Tom Kelly Show. I put it to the internet. 2 topics. Do you want me to talk about Brittney Griner, which frankly everybody has been talking about for 4 days since she's been freed from Russia? Or do you want me to talk about the number one topic on AskReddit.com right now, which is... Look at me making faces because I'm doing this with no friggin' notes. The number one topic was, worst part of having a penis. Let me describe everything that is going wrong with the show first. I'm recording on the iPhone, even though I am in the Tom Kelly Show studio. Oh, look at this. All the equipment is set up. I have my expensive camera set up, hooked into the expensive soundboard, expensive microphone over here. There we go. Oh, an expensive ring light, by the way, that I won in a raffle, all set up. I'm going to do a quick value on the camera's $2,000. This was $600, and I think the microphones were $200 each. Let's make that $400 to make this easy. So we're up to about $3,500 worth of equipment there. Actually, the ring light is useful right now, but so we'll make it $3,000 worth of equipment that's useless because this fancy computer, let's make that another $2,000 right there. Now we're up to $5,000 of equipment. Long story short, the camera, to make the camera talk to the computer, you need a dongle to read the chips. And I left the dongle in the car, which is parked in a garage, and it's not worth pulling the garage out of the lot when the phone does like 80% of the job. So there you go, folks. We're recording the podcast haphazardly and with the cell phone because I can't find my dongle. And speaking of dongles, I put it to Instagram. What do you guys want me to talk about? And for about the first half an hour the poll was up, people were saying Brittney Griner. Judy Jensen said, we want you to talk about Brittney Griner. Who else? I want to see if the darn phone updated the graphics here, updated the pictures. But yeah, basically a lot of you were pushing for Brittney Griner, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of people said no Brittney Griner. And oh God, all of technology is just not working for me right now. So it's weird. I don't know if I have much new to say on the Brittney Griner topic. And I want to say that a lot of my opinions are tainted. I'm something of a passive WNBA fan. God knows my dream girl probably played for the WNBA at some point. And so my opinions are tainted because, Uncle Tom is trying to seduce the ladies. Actually, creepy joke aside, my opinions are tainted also because I'm a real human being. And I know Brittney Griner is a real human being. And I think before I express anything jokey or real, she's a real human being. And she has a wife, she has a family, she has coworkers and people who love her. And I think Russian prison has to be hard for anybody, especially if you are a 6'7" or actually I think she's 6'9", especially if you are a 6'9" tall black woman in a white Russian gulag. Yeah, you got to be standing out to the prison guards there. You got to be, I mean, like, we joked about how hard it was for Martha Stewart to go to prison. So, I mean, is Brittney Griner the equivalent of Martha Stewart in a Russian gulag? And in the end, Martha Stewart did well. So maybe there will be a nice story where Martha Stewart, I think Martha Stewart actually enjoyed prison and grew as a human being. And I just don't imagine that for in a Russian gulag. But whatever it is, real human being, happy the real human being is home for the holidays. And I don't do politics well. And I think there's a reason why I'm not a leader of the real world, why I'm not really good at business. I'm not good at negotiating my own business deals, and why sometimes I have agents represent me is this was a bad deal. When you consider we're sort of in a cold war again with Russia, we're in a passive war with Russia, whatever you want to call it. Putin's a jerk. Putin plays emotional games when he goes to war. Putin plays games where, Putin is playing games where, how do I describe this the right way? Putin's playing games where he's trying to emotionally extort our leaders into doing the things he wants, whether it be by playing games with the fuel supply for all of Europe, or whether it's, quite frankly, borderline kidnapping one American celebrity. Now, I have a lot of staunch Republican friends and who will point out some poor qualities about Brittney Griner. One, yes, I think she has made the statement in public that she didn't think the national anthem should be played at sporting events. I think she also, quite frankly, if you go back 5 years, I think she got arrested once or twice with her last significant other in domestic abuse or domestic conflict charges. They were dismissed, but okay, she's not perfect. She's not a saint. And yes, she brought weed into another country, or hashish oil, whatever you want to call it. She was smart enough to know it was illegal, and she should have been smart enough to know, we're all complaining in America about how tough America policing is, but holy cow, Putin much? She should have known better. You get into, and then I'll get into the other argument. Here is, I think she made more money in Russia playing for a few months than she would have made in the U.S. for a longer period of time in the WNBA. I'll give you a side story. About when I was still at Good Morning America, I got an offer to perform in China for, I believe, $50,000 to $60,000. This is, about 2019. I get an email on my brand new website, TomKellyShow.com. And it was somebody soliciting me for work, and they said, and the English was very much written in spammy, broken English, but once someone says $50,000, that's the price that hits Tom's dreams. And that's just high enough a number that you start asking questions. And it was suspicious enough, and I actually gave the offer to an agent who was courting me at the time. And I said, listen, if this is a legit deal, I'll let you go flesh it out. If you think it's legit and you want to put your banking information on it, I'll go. And I'll be honest, at that point, that was a bluff, because I kind of felt like it was some sort of a foreign conspiracy to kidnap Tom Kelly because he worked at Good Morning America. I might have been crazy. I might have been overthinking it. But whatever it was suspicious. The agent, my agent at the time, did some research and decided, hey, Tom, the address is in a fishy part of China. And he actually said he would have put more effort into it if I wanted it, but it just smelt funny. Playing in Russia, not nearly the same thing. But on the other hand, it is. We at this point, we know there's tensions with the country. And remember, my father's rule of, hey, follow all the rules. We're in this age now of people not following rules in America. It's driving me crazy. Whether it be license plate covers that I see in my neighborhood of Massapequa, Long Island, or people bringing dogs into restaurants, or I'm actually getting caught up in a big election case in the Rockaways right now with a friend of mine who's running for office. Look up my friend Tom Sullivan for Assembly. Follow him there. You'll just see what I've been obsessed with for the last 3 or 4 days. Anyway, moral of the story is she not only should have known better, she knew better. And she was abandoned by her Russian team and teammates. And yes, absolutely, she was a prisoner of war in the Ukraine war. And the folks in Ukraine should really consider her some form of war hero. Because she was held captive for a war that had nothing to do with her. And yeah, and I just, there's, for as much as a guy who's rooting for Brittney Griner and might even be a fan, I don't think you trade any basketball player for the merchant of death. One of the great memes I saw was, this is the first time anybody has cared about a WNBA trade, but bump. My joke was, if we're willing to trade Brittney Griner for the merchant of death, who are we willing to give up for LeBron? And jokes aside, I guess that's my politics is, if we're willing to give up the merchant of death for a basketball player whom I care about, what will the current administration do when Putin says, I'm going to point this nuclear weapon at a town in Ukraine? What would we do if Putin says, I'm going to point this nuclear weapon at New York? What are we going to give up then? But on the other hand, while we're going crazy, I do believe something good can come out of this. I was very impressed that Brittney Griner's wife is calling for the release of Paul Whelan. It's nice to see people who would never be associated together. Paul Whelan, a veteran who's being held as an international spy. It's a moment to see people come together. And when you talk about how we're obsessed with, not obsessed, they're very valid things we were talking about after the murder of George Floyd in 2020. When we talk about, that Black people feel like we don't care about them, especially Black women, when you talk about Breonna Taylor. Maybe the fact that Joe Biden showed that America does care about a Black woman will make people who feel disenfranchised, maybe it will let people who feel disenfranchised know that there is an American society out there that does care about you and you are part of the process. Maybe, in my dream world, even though I don't agree with the trade for American security purposes, I do hope it's the beginning of some sort of hope where maybe the Biden administration has expressed to people who feel disenfranchised, hey, we do care about you. And we could go longer into the politics. And again, I'm not a great political conversationalist, but you know what? I've been going back and forth on this the whole time. Our friend Marianne wrote on Instagram that she was very happy for Brittney Griner's family, but is very nervous for the world politically because of this. Whatever it is, Um, you know, there you go. I really would love to check my phone to see if the voting results changed. And it's funny, I feel creepy saying worst parts of having a wiener. Do you mind if I say wiener? Do you mind if I say wiener? I feel weird on the podcast saying penis. I'm trying to keep it cleaner. I'm trying to keep the shtick cleaner here on the show. And, you know, some of you guys listen to the podcast with your kids in the car. But I just saw this on Ask Reddit. Let me find the answers here. I stole my favorite ones. Trending topic. Again, trending. Number one topic on AskReddit.com, a subsection of Reddit.com. Here we go. Worst parts of having a penis. And then I'll give you my favorite one. And this was the number one answer on the number one question. When you're like, I'll stand up to pee in the toilet, and the pee decides to fork into two inconceivable directions. You know what? I'm reading this and I'm just thinking, you know what? A lot of women listen to this podcast. Why am I even trying this as a topic? So 16 minutes into the show, I figure I'll do a little bit of show and tell. First, this, my friends, is a bar of Ivory soap. Yep, I bought it in the beginning of the pandemic when we ran out of hand sanitizer. You remember there was like that moment, let's make it June of 2020. There were hand sanitizer shortages. And I'm like, you know what? Ivory soap, 99.99% pure, whatever the hell that means. This has to be able to wash off the COVID. Anyway, I don't love it as a soap. It's kind of brutal on the skin. Dove has moisturizer. So it's just funny. I'm only just now starting to clean out things that I hoarded or I'm forcing myself to use, things that I bought in the pandemic. My freezer, just a sign of how little I cook and how little I cook healthy. My freezer I just got rid of all the vegetables I bought at the beginning of the pandemic when there was nothing left in the Pioneer grocery store except for frozen vegetables. Who do I want to shout out today? A couple people we want to shout out. See if they actually listen to the show. Tim Gorton, saw you vote and comment on the Instagram poll. Ben Waldman, saw you comment that you wanted me to talk about my wiener. And I want to see if some of the people who voted for me talking about my wiener actually listened to the show. And Opera Mom, saw you wanted me to talk about my wiener. And then there was one other person who wanted me to talk about, Lainey Ables. Lainey Ables, I know, is listening. So that's about it, folks. New show, and hopefully I'll have the live done for Sunday, 10 o'clock on YouTube. And you know what listen, you know what the asks are. Every time you like a show, send it to someone else who might like it. And I hope you guys are getting ready for a good holiday season. Until next week, good night, New York.